Research indicates that poor communication is probably the most frequently cited source of interpersonal conflict because individuals spend nearly 70% of their waking hours communicating, writing, reading, speaking, listening. It seems reasonable to conclude that one of the most inhibiting forces to successful group performance is a lack of effective communication. Watson-Watts 2003 and 2004 and 2005 and 2006 studies on communication found that communication effectiveness leads to enhanced organizational performance. Companies that communicate effectively are 4.5 times more likely to report high levels of engagement and 20% more likely to report lower turnover rates. Good communication skills are very important to your career success. 2007 study of recruiters found that they rated communication skills as the most important characteristic of an ideal job candidate. History of communication technologies have evolved in tandem with shifts in political and economic systems and by extension systems of power. Communication can range from very subtle processes of exchange to full conversations and mass communication. The history of communication itself can be traced back since the origin of speech 5 lakh BC. The use of technology in communication may be considered since the first use of symbols about 30,000 years ago. Cave paintings, petroglyphs, that is rock carving, pictograms, that is pictorial symbol for a word or phrase, ideograms, that is character symbolizing the idea. All of these were the first ever modes of communication. Symbols were developed about 30,000 years ago. The imperfection of speech, which nonetheless allowed easier dissemination of ideas and eventually resulted in the creation of new forms of communications, improving both the range at which people could communicate and the longevity of the information. All of these inventions were based on the key concept of the symbol. Writing, of course, was a major innovation, as well as printing technology and more recently telecommunications and the internet. Sumerian archaic writing and Egyptian hieroglyphs are generally considered the earliest true writing systems, both emerging out of their ancestral proto-literate symbols from 3400 to 3100 BC, with earliest coherent texts from about 2600 BC. No one knows exactly when or how human beings came up with the spoken language. One postulate is that language began between 1 lakh and 50,000 years ago with the advent of modern man. This is well before the invention of the written language about 5,000 years ago. Physical features that distinguish humans from other creatures may have supported speech production. Evolutionary development resulted in partial adaptations making speech possible for early humans: teeth, lips, mouth, tongue, larynx, pharynx. So now we will try to define what exactly the communication is. Before communication can take place, a purpose expressed as a message to be conveyed is needed. It passes between a sender and a receiver. The message is encoded, that is converted to a symbolic form, and passed by way of some medium or channel to the receiver, who retranslates, or in other words decodes, the message initiated by the sender. The result is transfer of meaning from one person to another. The key parts of this model are the sender, encoding, the message, the channel, that is the medium, decoding, the receiver, noise, and the feedback. The sender initiates a message by encoding a thought or idea. The message is the actual physical product from the sender's encoding. When we speak, the speech is the message. And when we write, the writing is the message. When we gesture, the movements of our arms, our eyes, and the expressions on our faces are the message. The channel is the medium through which the message travels. It is selected by the sender, who must determine whether to use a formal or informal channel. Formal channels are established by the organization and transmit messages that are related to the professional activities of the members. They traditionally follow the authority chain within the organization. Other forms of messages, such as personal or social, follow informal channels in the organization or in the society or in the group. These informal channels are spontaneous and emerge as a response to individual choices. The receiver is the object to whom the message is directed. But before the message can be received, the symbols in it must be translated into a form that can be understood by the receiver. This step in the decoding of the message, noise represents communication barriers that distort the clarity of the message. Examples of possible noise source include perceptual problems, information overload, semantic differences, or cultural differences. The final link in the communication process is a feedback loop. Feedback is the check on how successful we have been in transmitting our messages as originally intended. It determines whether understanding has been achieved. So, communication can be defined as the transmission of information, suggesting understanding meaning, maintaining social contact, common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. There are certain universal facts about communication. Communication is related to every human activity. It's very obvious. And communication involves two or more than two parties, always. Communication may be one-way or two-way process. Success of communication depends on proper understanding of the parties involved. Otherwise, the communication goes futile. Communication in organization flows in various patterns. Communication is media or channel-based. Now, we will see various aspects of communication. Out of those various aspects, we will take three aspects. One is verbal mode of communication, another is body language, and another is speech. By a research, we can conclude that 55% of the communication is determined by body language, that is postures, gestures, and eye contact. 38% of the communication is determined by the tone of voice, that is the verbal mode of communication, and only the 7% of the communication is determined by the content or the words spoken. That is, the speech part of the communication is maintained at the level of 7% of the entire communication. Now we will discuss the types of communication. There are although several types of communication. We will try to discuss four kinds of communication that are the important ones. One is interpersonal communication, the communication that takes between two or more people. Another one is organizational communication, all the patterns, networks, and systems of communications that happens within an organization. Formal communication, in which there is always a disciplined pattern of maintaining the communication. Then the informal communication. Sometimes we even take grapevine within the group or within the organization also as informal communication, and the researchers have proved that the informal communication most of the times proves to be more powerful than the formal one. We will try to correlate Johari window model with the interpersonal communication. Johari window model explains the four dimensions of personality. One is open self, in which the information about you is known to you, that is yourself, and known to others. There is hidden self, in which the information is known to you, information about you is known to you, but then it is unknown to others. Third quadrant is blind self. In the Johari window model, there are 4 quadrants. One is open self, another is hidden self, another is blind self, and the last one is unknown self. In blind self, the information about you is unknown to you, but then known to others. And the unknown self quadrant, this dimension, is neither known to you nor known to others. So these 4 quadrants of Johari window model has got some connectivity with interpersonal communication. In open self, all the information necessary to conduct effective communication is known both to sender and receiver. Both are aware of the same feelings, assumptions and data. In blind spot or blind self, when relevant information is known to others but not known to you, the person in a blind spot will suffer because of not being able to decode information properly. In facade or hidden self, the information is known to self but not known to others. The person may present a false front or facade. So this might hamper the communication. In unknown self, neither party knows the relevant feelings, sentiments, or information in the communication. So interpersonal communication suffers a lot. So now we come to non-verbal communication. Communication transmitted without words. So there might be 2 kinds of non-verbal communication. One is body language and other is verbal intonation. The body language includes gestures, facial configurations, and other related body movements that convey meaning. Verbal intonation refers to the emphasis someone gives to words or phrases in order to convey meaning. So we got 2 kinds of non-verbal communication. One is body language and another one is verbal intonation. There might be several other types of non-verbal communication. These are eye contact, facial expressions, gestures, posture and body orientation, body language, space and distance, proximity, paralinguistic, humor, touch, silence, personal appearance, symbol, visual communication. Now we go to the part wherein the communication is maintained within the organization itself, which is known as organizational communication itself. Communication networks and grapevine can be taken as the 2 parts of organizational communication networks. Communication networks is the variety of patterns of vertical and horizontal flows of organizational communication, and whereas grapevine is the informal organizational communication network. So there might be too many types of organizational communication. We basically discuss 4 kinds of organizational communication. One is downward communication, number 2 upward communication, number 3 lateral communication, and number 4 diagonal communication. Downward communication is the communication that flows downward from a manager, from a superior, to the employees or the subordinates. When the superordinates assign tasks to their subordinates, then downward communication happens. Now, what is upward communication? It is a communication that flows upward from subordinates to the superordinates. Employees having the opportunity to discuss problems with their superordinates, they maintain the upward communication. Now, what is lateral communication? The communication that takes place among any employees on the same organizational or horizontal level. It is also known as staff communication, in which team members working on the same project on the same level, they exchange work-related information. So such kind of communication is known as lateral communication. Diagonal communication. Communication that cuts across work areas and organizational levels. Members from different departments communicating on a personal level is known as diagonal communication. So we discussed 4 kinds of organizational communication. These are downward communication, upward communication, lateral communication, and diagonal communication. We will right now discuss how to communicate effectively, and why it is important in organizations. And effective communication will yield the effective result, effective performance for any organization. At any given time, it is seen while somebody is communicating, 20% were thinking about something else, 60% were daydreaming about other topics, and only 20% were actually listening to a speaker, and it is based on a result of research. So in order to communicate effectively, you need to able to be grabbing the attention of the speaker, attention of the listener. Development of relationships, cultures, civilizations, etc., both at the micro and macro level, depends on effective communication. Unless effective communication is established, communication will become futile. So there are 6 principles of effective communication. These are: establish a warm atmosphere, a warm environment for communication, number 1. And number 2, actively engaging people's interest. How to engage the people's, how to engage the audience, it's a huge challenge. Number 3, be believable. Whatever you tell should be authentic, so that the audience can develop a trust on you and they can continue listening to you. Otherwise, they'll not continue listening to you. Number 4, speak with your own voice. Don't be copycat. Be yourself. Only then the originality will be maintained. Number 5, use gestures well. And number 6, remember that your knowledge is limited. Don't pretend that you know everything else. You should be courageous enough to accept your faults, your limitations while speaking. So what is exactly effective communication? It's a process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, knowledge and information such that the purpose or intention is fulfilled in the best possible manner. In simple words, it is nothing but the presentation of views by the sender in a way best understood by the receiver. There might be certain barriers to effective communication which might interrupt your communication, which might be a reason for failure of your entire communication. What are these? These are selective perception. Number 1, selective perception. Number 2, incongruity between encoding and decoding. Number 3, source credibility issues. Number 4, filtering. Number 5, information overload. And number 6, jargon or semantic barriers. What is selective perception barrier? Receivers in the communication process selectively see and hear based on their needs, motivations, experience, background, and other personal characteristics. This means your audience will be most of the times interested to listen to whatever they want to listen to. They might not be interested to whatever they are listening. So this is selective perception issue which might occur during communication. Incongruity between encoding and decoding. When there is a difference between what has been sent as a message and what has been understood. Chinese whisper is one of the best examples of this. This issue of effective communication in which the encoding and decoding doesn't match with each other. Source credibility issue. Unsure of the origin of the information, leading to questioning the authenticity of it, ultimately not putting attention to the message. The audience might have a confusion regarding the source of the communication, from where the communication is transmitted, for whom the communication has been maintained or established. So source credibility issue might occur as a barrier to effective communication. Filtering, the deliberate manipulation of information to make it appear more favorable to the receiver. So this filtering issue might also crept in as a big barrier to effective communication, wherein the audience will be misguided, misled if the communicator tries to manipulate the information, and this is known as filtering issue. Information overload. It occurs when information exceeds the processing capacity, and it exceeds the acceptability of the audience, and the information overload even might destroy the attention level of the audience. Last but not least, jargon related issues. Jargon means the technical terminology, specialized terminology or technical language that members of a group use to communicate among themselves. And most of the times it is seen that if you use most of the times jargons, then the communication might be affected. The best example of avoiding the jargons to make the people's acquainted with the subject matter, we can take from the greatest scientist of our century after Isaac Newton and Einstein, Stephen Hawking, who wrote one very, very, very famous book. It has been a Bible in modern day astrophysics. The name of that book is A Brief History of Time. In the preface of that book, Hawkins tells in one of the paragraphs that he had tried a lot, he had struggled a lot to keep this entire book, which is of more than 400 pages. It discusses about the evolution of the universe from Big Bang to Big Crunch. This deals with the sophisticated astrophysics, quantum mechanics, and all advanced physics, modern physics, which is impossible to discuss without the mathematics and without the uses of the equations and all. He told in preface, he wrote in the preface that he tried to avoid the equations, and mathematical expressions, and he tried to keep the book in narrative form, wherein he is narrating the story of the evolution, and but then he is apologizing with the reader that he had to use one equation which he could not keep away with, and that equation is very, very, very simple equation of physics, that is E is equal to mc square. So this was one of the novel example of avoiding jargons, and Stephen Hawking, of course, achieved this success in reaching out to the common mass, like a very simple man, very common man, mundane man can also read this book to understand the very intricate, very complex theories of physics. So this is how we can avoid the barriers to effective communication. So with this, we come to an end of this discussion. We will meet in our next video. Thank you.